An Ohio man is facing charges in Kentucky. How Richmond police say he ended up in a hotel with a teenage girl.
Scott County leaders met today to talk about a road receiving a lot of complaints. What they think can be done to keep people living off US 25 safe.
It was black and slimy.
If you've bought a front-loading washing machine, you may have some money waiting for you.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening. Police say the two met online, but their relationship took a real turn when police say he picked up a teenager from school to have sex with her.
Richmond police arrested 35-year-old Shiraz Ahmed last week. According to a police report, Ahmed picked up a 14-year-old girl from Madison Middle School and then took her to a hotel. Hillary Thornton is tracking the investigation in our top story at 5:30.
Investigators say the Madison Middle School student and the 35-year-old man from Ohio met on social media. According to his arrest citation, that man, Shiraz Ahmed, then driving to Kentucky to pick up the girl. Madison County school officials say while he did pick the student up from school, he never was actually on school property. They say the cafeteria and classroom building are separate at Madison Middle, so students must walk in between those buildings to and from lunch. While there is supervision, they say the 14-year-old was able to walk away at that point around 12:30 Thursday afternoon, where Ahmed was waiting near the school. Investigators say after picking up the young teen from Madison Middle School, Ahmed then brought her here to the Hampton Inn. Ahmed is in jail facing charges of third-degree rape, sodomy, unlawful transaction with a minor, and tampering with physical evidence. Investigators say Ahmed was aware that the girl is only 14 years old, both before and after the crimes he is now accused of. Police say the 35-year-old then tried to cover up his interactions with the 14-year-old by deleting all applications and messages from her phone. Ahmed did not want to tell his side of the story from jail. In Richmond, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Ahmed is scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow morning in Madison County District Court.
We're tracking a tragic death out of southern Kentucky. A state police trooper has died after falling in a barn in Pulaski County this morning. Troopers say 24-year-old trooper Mason Flynn was repairing the roof of a barn near Somerset. The coroner says Flynn was helping a friend when he accidentally fell through the roof and hit his head. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Flynn had been with state police for 2 years. He graduated from the academy in January of 2015. He had started in the Pikeville Post, but was transferred to the London Post earlier this year. We have a news crew in Pulaski County, and we'll have an update on the sad story coming up on WKYT News at 6.
Two people charged in connection to an overdose death in southern Kentucky will wait a little longer to head back to court. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Rockcastle County. David Spoonamore and Morgan Dixon are charged with abuse of a corpse and tampering with physical evidence. Police say Jerry Price was with the couple for hours before he overdosed in April. Today, Spoonamore and Dixon's hearing was delayed. We've learned that Dixon is undergoing treatment, and Spoonamore's attorney asked that the case be delayed until Dixon is healthy. In Pulaski County, a man has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for killing his father. Jedediah Van Wormer pled guilty to murder, theft, and other charges in the death of Edward Van Wormer. His body was found buried under concrete at his home. Jedediah was facing a possible life sentence. He will now be eligible for parole in 20 years. His girlfriend, Amanda Braddock, also pled guilty to her role in the murder. And in Clark County, a former school superintendent has passed away. Donald Pace was currently the Lewis County School Superintendent, but he worked as the Clark County School Superintendent from 1984 to 1999, and he served as interim superintendent at several other school districts in the state. No other details about his death have been released.
Fall is finally here, only a few days late. Temperatures cooling off today and the rain has moved back in. Meteorologist Jim Caldwell has a first look at the forecast. Jim?
And those temperatures are dropping out there too, Sam, thanks to that rain and that frontal boundary that brought the rain. We're going to watch temperatures continue to drop this evening and over the next several days, especially compared to where we have been. We had a taste of summer in the first weekend of fall, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way it was. 67 right now in Lexington, 64 down the road into Danville. Notice again, again, southern and eastern Kentucky a little bit warmer. They're still holding steady in the low 70s, mid 70s, and it's 79, by the way, there in Middlesboro. So they have some upper 70s as well. But that cooler air is slowly oozing toward you. By 7 o'clock in the morning, it is certainly showing up around here with some 40s, low 50s. Quite the chill in the air. Tomorrow, though, looking pretty good with plenty of sunshine. Highs back in the low 70s before we get into a cooler and very damp period. Daytime highs by Wednesday only in the mid and upper 60s showing up around here. So a little more action-packed at that point. Here's what we've got with some of the clouds out there at the moment, and that's the only thing remaining. You might run into an area of drizzle, especially in the eastern mountains, but most of that even wrapping up at least at this point. But we'll have more chances of rain just in case you wanted a few. We have several in our 7-day forecast. I'll break it all down coming up, guys.
Jim, thank you. State and county road crews are now questioning the safety of a Scott County road. They're taking a look at a stretch of US 25 near Georgetown.
The latest deadly crash happened more than a week ago, and now county leaders are discussing what they can do to prevent another one from happening. Kristen Kennedy has the story that's new at 5:30.
There's no debating
it's narrow, blind curves,
the dangers,
winding, hilly roads
of this stretch of US 25.
Blind curves, hills.
What's got state leaders stumped is figuring out how to keep drivers safe. A handful of them met Monday, and they decided increased enforcement of speed limits and rules of the road must happen now.
We've been up and down the stretch of road. We've reviewed the accident site. We've been up to the landfill and up to the Sadieville exit on I-75, so everybody understands what it is we're dealing with.
They do not want to see another wreck like last Friday's, where a woman died when 2 commercial vehicles crashed.
It's not an easy fix. It's not a fix that's going to happen today or tomorrow. It's a long-term fix, but there are some smaller steps we can take to start making this road safer for the citizens.
People living off US 25 have mixed reactions to the increased enforcement.
I've seen them ticketed, a few times they're out here, but once they're gone, then it picks back up.
Depends on the neighbors, whether they listen or not. All right, I hope it works.
The Scott County Sheriff says his deputies will continue to patrol that area, and commercial vehicle enforcement officers will do the same. State representatives say they are speaking with landfill owners, asking their crews to voluntarily reroute their drivers. In Scott County, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
The State Transportation Department is expected to conduct a speed study in that area later this week. State Senator Thayer says he plans to ask the state for more money to consider expanding that stretch of road the next time a road budget is put in place, and that'll be in 2 years.
Dozens of people in a southern Kentucky community are without running water tonight, and crews in Rockcastle County are trying to fix the water line break that's causing the problem. The break is in an eastern Rockcastle water line, but crews are having a hard time finding the leak. About 50 households in that part of the county are affected.
Everyone's got 3 or 4 people. That's a lot of people to be affected by that. When you can't take baths and you can't wash your dishes or do laundry, that's a problem.
The Kentucky Rural Water Association says they're bringing in a special tool from Bowling Green to help them find the leak. In the meantime, free bottled water is available at the water office beside the old school in Livingston. Crews will also deliver water to people who cannot make it to the water office.
If you own a front loader washing machine and you've noticed a really bad smell or some slimy mold, you could be eligible for some money. This was supposed to make your life easier and your clothes cleaner. But some customers say these front-load washing machines cause their clothes and their houses to smell.
You could say it was a clothes soiler instead of a clothes washer.
Michael Vogler is one of many consumers upset about what he discovered hidden inside of here.
It was black and slimy.
Water can get trapped in the rubber gasket on the door of a front loader, leading to mold. Now, class action lawsuits against many front load manufacturers are settling. If you bought a Whirlpool, Kenmore, or Maytag front-loading machine between 2001 and 2010, you could be entitled to a $50 cash payment, a rebate on your next machine, or reimbursement for your repairs. If you bought an LG between 2002 and 2006, you could receive $35 or a cash rebate on your next front loader. In order to qualify, you must opt into these lawsuits by October. If you have another brand, there are also class actions still pending against some of the other manufacturers. One way to try to clean up the mess and the crud in the machine, Add a 1/4 cup of baking soda mixture and water to the detergent container of your machine and run the washer for a large load on the hottest setting. Now, after that's all done, pour 2 cups of vinegar into the drum. Use a clean scrubber to rub around the opening of the washing machine and that rubber gasket, removing stubborn mold or residue.
Still ahead on WKYT News, Kentuckians registering in big numbers when it comes to voting in the upcoming presidential election. Why state leaders say it's all because of social media.
I'm Bill Bryant. The clock is ticking toward the showdown tonight, the first presidential debate. And some now question the cost to communities of trying to save heroin overdose victims. The bottom line is ahead.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
The first presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is just hours away.
And the two campaigns have already been debating how the debate should work. Bill Bryant explains in the bottom line.
Good evening. It's being called must-see TV, and many are estimating the size of audience for tonight's presidential debate could be like that of a Super Bowl, close to 100 million people watching. With polls showing a tight presidential race, the two candidates have prepared in their own way. Hillary Clinton has been through full mock debates. Donald Trump is said to have studied up on some issues and talked about likely questions that will be asked. And a question debated before the debate is if either candidate gets something wrong, should the moderator, Lester Holt, point it out? Hillary Clinton's camp says Holt should correct any false statements, but Trump's campaign manager says the Clinton campaign is trying to game the ref by pushing the moderator to correct statements made on stage. WKYT will be carrying the debate live at 9 o'clock tonight. With Kentucky in the midst of a major battle with heroin addictions and overdoses, community leaders around the country are now hearing some backlash about the cost of life-saving efforts. Some have questioned the time and effort spent saving people who often immediately return to using the deadly drug. And some other needs are having to be scaled back in communities to cover costs like naloxone, the drug being carried by some police officers and even in some schools to deal with overdoses. 4 years after Richmond Mayor Jim Barnes spent his own money and bought furniture for his office at City Hall, the city repaid him. The Richmond Register reports Barnes was reimbursed last year for $800 that he spent on furnishings after he took office in 2011. The newspaper obtained the information through an open records request. Barnes told the paper to make it clear that he is paid $3.50 an hour to be mayor. Don't forget, you can see the presidential debate live at 9 o'clock tonight here on WKYT. And we'll have highlights and reaction on our 11 o'clock news and, of course, on the morning news bright and early tomorrow. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
A huge jump in voter registrations here in Kentucky, and the Secretary of State says Facebook's reminder helped with the increase.
On Friday, Facebook launched a voter registration reminder across Kentucky. Users who are 18 and older received a notification at the top of their news feed reminding them to register to vote. And since then, more than 25,000 Kentuckians have registered to vote or updated their registration using GoVoteKY.com. October 11th is the deadline to register to vote for the November 8th general election.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
Here we go, finally getting into some fall-like air showing up across Kentucky. Compared to yesterday alone, it feels like a completely different season. You went from one to the other in just 24 hours. Because 24 hours ago, we were 19 degrees warmer. We have cooled from that point by almost 20 degrees and 22 degrees, by the way, in Frankfort. But you get the general idea. Everything is crashing down out toward the east as well as the front continues to work across Kentucky. So we're at 67 right now. It puts us well into the 80s yesterday in Lexington at this same exact moment. So it's a completely different weather world that we are now living in. Low mid-70s and even some upper 70s staying steady across parts of eastern Kentucky. 74 in London, 72 Jackson, 66 Mount Sterling. You get the general idea of the cooler air trying to filter in and all around us. You get outside the cloud cover, it warms right back up into the 70s. That's what we're seeing on the backside of this little batch of clouds that's on the tail end of all of this, all of the moisture that's sweeping through Kentucky. What we'll have later on is a messy forecast trying to develop that will keep the clouds around. So while we'll get a break probably tomorrow, late in the week, and I'm talking from Wednesday all the way through the end of the week, we will have this pesky low kind of meandering around. As it does that, it'll bring chilly temperatures. Daytime highs low to mid-60s. Clouds with even more showers likely out there. Not heavy rain-making type material, but we will have that constant threat of, oh, here comes another shower. And that will be the overall scheme of things as we look here at just the chances of rain alone in our 7-day forecast. We get to Wednesday all the way through Sunday. Every day there's a scattered chance. What that means is it's not going to be a washout. But it doesn't mean it's going to be really pretty out there either with that low hanging around. Let's track the low. Here we go, shall we? With our hour-by-hour run, clouds begin to thin out, clearing skies. Temperatures drop into the 40s overnight tonight and into early on Tuesday. Now we get into tomorrow. Things are fine at this point. Low 70s, upper 60s, very pleasant. But here comes some cloud cover starting to show up to our north. Those clouds continue to work their way southward, and we also get some showers out of that as well. That's just the beginning, because that low is going to sit and spin and spin and keep throwing chances of rain into our area. This is at 5 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and we are stuck in the mid-60s at that point here in Lexington. Got some other folks that are a little bit warmer than that, but all in all, a downward spiral continues, and you can see it even better in our 7-day forecast where we have those rain chances alive and well, and then those daytime highs in the mid-60s. So what we see out there today, guys, is going to be kind of a carbon copy. I think once we get past Tuesday, it's going to look kind of gray. It's going to feel the part of kind of gloomy. And then, of course, very chilly as well compared to where we're even supposed to be. We should be in the mid-70s, but we'll be in the mid-60s.
So this is even below normal.
This is below normal. This is more like mid to late October kind of daytime highs. So we got a real push of fall in here.
Now we just jump to the other, right?
We went too far.
Thank you, sir.
Well, so far we're okay on the circle and the interstate. We just cleared the collision on Tates Creek Road in Albany. Now they're working a new one on Clays Mill near the circle. Drive times holding our own 15 minutes to Nicholasville, about 12 to 13 to Versailles. Now back to you in the studio.
Officer Don, thank you. Just ahead, the Cats heading to Alabama this weekend.
Taking on the nation's #1 team, Mark Stoops goes up against Nick Saban, and the two have a relationship that goes all the way back to the 1980s when Stoops was being recruited out of high school in Youngstown. That's next in sports. Nick Saban has built a reputation as the best coach in the country, and he will go down as one of the best of all time. This weekend, Mark Stoops takes his team down to Alabama to face Saban and the Tide. And it brought back some memories of when Saban was a young assistant and Stoops was a high school recruit. Mark Stoops has never coached with Nick Saban. He has coached against him. And he actually has a relationship with him that goes back to his high school days. As an assistant at Michigan State, Saban recruited Stoops.
My two brothers had played at Iowa, so I visited Iowa. I visited Ohio State, and I knew if I wasn't going to go to Ohio State, I was going to go to Iowa because the relationships I had with all those coaches, and I wasn't going to go anywhere else. So I canceled my visit to Michigan State. That phone call didn't go very well. And I was really young and naive and had no clue, because I didn't even, I knew I wasn't a great player or anything like that, but I couldn't believe, it made it very difficult for me. And I remember getting off the phone saying, wow.
That recruiting story about Saban goes back to the 1980s. Now, Stoops told another story that dealt with his Uncle Bob, who was coaching high school in Youngstown, Ohio, and Saban came in to recruit.
And Coach will tell you the story better than me, but they were talking X's and O's, and so wrapped up in the X's and O's that they had no idea that somebody came in and robbed the place at gunpoint. They were talking and drawing plays on a napkin, is the way my uncle describes it, and then I heard Coach verify it. They're sitting there writing X's and O's, and the police are coming in and ask him what happened, and he says, "What do you mean, what happened?" He said, "Did you see anything?" He said, "No, I didn't see anything. They were working on football."
This week, Stoops will be working on the X's and O's, going up against the defending national champion, the #1 team in the nation. He goes into it with a lot of respect for Nick Saban.
This business, this coaching profession is built on respect. And you know, it starts there. I have great respect for what he's done and how disciplined he is, and the work ethic that he has. But I always think he does things right. I think he does things with class. He treats people the right way, and you know, how can you not admire that?
It's Alabama this Saturday, 7 o'clock. The game will be televised by ESPN. In the next half hour, Nick Saban talked about his relationship with Mark Stoops. We'll have that at 6. Stay with us. We're back after the break.